Walk-Ons fans to episode 376 of the podcast. We have a repeat guest, maybe the quickest repeat guest that we've ever had on. It felt like, Brad, that I felt like you just were on the show.
Well, and you say that, but it's been a really long month and a half for me. So it seems like it's actually been a long time from my perspective.
Well, it's been longer than that. It's been about 3 months. You came in early August, 4 months.
Yeah, and I've had a lot going on. I've lost. Let's see, I live in Fort Myers, Florida. We had 15 feet of storm surge. I've lost my home, my cars, my dock, my boat. But we've picked up a quarterback. So all is well in my world.
Oh shit, Brad! You lost all your shit.
Yeah.
Everything?
Not everything. I'm not homeless. Let's just say it's not 5-star living at the moment. We're having to gut the place and
my goodness.
We're okay. It's all right. Like I said, we got a quarterback.
We did, and before we hit record, he's like, "I already know what you're gonna ask. You're gonna ask about Cade McNamara and all this stuff." I said, "It's not the first question; it's the fifth question." So we will get there. I'm glad that, yeah, as happy as you say that makes you in the midst of you also losing all that stuff through the storms. I think that Hawkeye Nation was even happier by the response that I saw on Twitter, Brad, and online. Obviously, since we last talked, that was before the season. We were kind of hoping that things would be offensively better. And Iowa had its struggles this year. And, well, you are the man behind the scenes right now who seems to have brought someone to the promised land, maybe the Iowa offense to the promised land. And I'm very interested. Let's kick it off with this. In 4 months since you've been on, what has the Swarm been doing? What have you and I think at the time you had 1 or 2 people on staff. What have you guys learned in the last 4 months? I'm sure it's a lot right now as everything's kicking off.
There is a lot that I've learned. But the first thing I think I learned is that this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I thought the Iowa fans would jump on board in droves and support us. And, I came from the show me state from Missouri. I didn't grow up in Iowa, and it might as well be Missouri because it was pretty clear to me that there are a lot of skeptics out there. And but once Cade committed, the number of donors for our organization has literally tripled in the last week. And so I think that there's I think people are starting to become believers in what we're doing, and really excited about the future of Hawkeye sports.
The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And right now, Cade McNamara is the pudding.
He is, and I don't know if the Hawkeye faithful has paid much attention, but he's one hell of a quarterback. He
beat our ass in the championship last year. So
we watched that, but I mean, he saved Jim Harbaugh's job. That guy was all but canned until he took over and led him to the college football playoffs. I mean, how many programs next year are going to have a starting quarterback that's taken their team to the college football playoffs? Not going to be many. We're going to be one of them.
That's one hell of a selling point. I gotta be honest. Yeah, that's a good point. He's pretty established, and from what I hear, everybody, all of his teammates say he's a leader. They say he's a charismatic guy, the kind of guy that you want to be around in the locker room. And from what I could tell, he's already trying to, he's hopping on the recruiting bandwagon. He's trying to recruit guys in already, and I love it. We love to hear it.
That's it. I actually listened to another podcast that he was on today. I don't know if you heard that.
I listened to it on my bike ride today as well.
Yeah, with Jordan Palmer and Kyle Allen, maybe. I'm trying to remember who the guy was. Yep. And he had a lot of good things to say there about the opportunity at Iowa and how the coaching staff came to him and says, we've got to turn our offense around. We want to open it up. We want to pass the ball down the field. We want you to be the catalyst for change. And he got real excited about that.
Yeah.
So I would expect a different kind of offense next fall.
You're promising something that, I mean, you're not promising it, but you're saying stuff that'll get people very excited on the outside here. By the way, Drake, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here, bud.
Thank you, boys and girls. Happy to be here.
All people want in Iowa City right now is a different offense and maybe a few different people in the positions that they're at, but that's another conversation. I listened to the podcast as well, as I said, and I think, I mean, this might have been a match made in heaven because the way that Iowa sits right now is kind of in need of a turnaround on that offensive side of the ball. And it sounds like Cade, from what he said, is he has that history, both when he played high school and kind of what he did last year at Michigan. I think he said that they were 4-7 his junior year or something like that. And then his senior year, he comes in and they win a conference championship. And he was sort of a catalyst for that. And then in 2020, Michigan was down and out and wasn't doing so well. And then last year he takes over and now he has a similar position to do it a third time for the Iowa Hawkeyes. How I don't even know, and I don't want to get you in trouble here either, because I know, first of all, just from looking at the landscape, it is. I think the Wild West is like an understated term. It's way past that. Would I be correct?
Well, it seems that way, right?
Are there any rules, Brad?
No, this shit is lawless. It is very obvious. There's some tampering going on here.
There are rules, but I don't know that everybody is following them. In fact, I know they're not.
I mean, who's enforcing them? I don't
That's
think
it. There's nobody enforcing. The NCAA right now is I won't say toothless, but they certainly don't have the
damn close.
The clause that they may have once had, like when I was in athletics. But
yeah, they would have hunted. They would have hunted your ass down, Brad.
Yeah.
They would have found your ass at Finkbine and just plucked you out of the building.
I know. Yeah, right. The bagmen for those golfers. There's a lot of them out there.
All that money you were getting under the table to golf for the Hawks in the 90s, right?
Yeah, right. They wouldn't have gotten their money's worth, I'll tell you that.
During the season, and I know that you've taken the lead on this, and I think there's probably been some nights where you were cursing other people out, like, why me? Why does it have to be me? Because I have to imagine you feel this pretty solid sense of responsibility now, a lot.
There's no doubt. And I said this. I was in at Madison Square Garden for the Duke Iowa game this last couple of days, and I started thinking, like, we never know what's going to happen with this NIL, and the rules may change completely. But if they don't change, then it would not surprise me if the NIL program becomes far more important than the athletics department when it comes to having student athletes come on campus, which is crazy to even think about.
That's an insane thought.
It is, isn't it? I mean, we are heading straight towards that.
Yeah.
And that's not, trust me, that wasn't my vision. It wasn't something I was seeking when I took this on. But as I'm watching this evolve, with it's like college, it's like free agency, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Nobody has to sit out. It's free agency. It's like in the NFL. In the NFL, what, a bottom and third of the roster turns over every year. It may be just like that in college football, college basketball.
It's even crazier than free agency, though, because contracts hold people in place. You can't just randomly decide I'm a free agent now.
That's right.
That's what these kids are doing. They're just saying, "Oops, peace. I'm a free agent now."
You're right. And it may become more and more rare that a kid plays his entire career at one school.
How bad does that feel, though? Like, that just takes away from what college football is.
Yeah, do you see that as an overall positive or negative for the sport?
From my perspective, it's sort of I view it as a fan, kind of negative, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about the NFL, the quarterbacks tend to not change teams as much, but you'll get the defensive backs, the secondary, the linemen. Those guys are switching teams all the time, unless they're one of the marquee players, right? And you will associate a certain player with the franchise. I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm hoping that Mahomes plays his whole career there.
Right.
But just think about the big players from that we worshipped growing up. A lot of times they would stay on the same team, but other players around them may have played in 5, 6, 7, 8 different teams, and that could happen in college now too.
I think it puts a premium on the guys who, and maybe not necessarily that they're more sought after by an NFL team or anything, but from the fans' perspective, I think it's going to put a premium on the guys who are able to find a school right out of high school and then stick with it the whole way, become a star at that school or a significant contributor. Those guys are going to be remembered and probably revered a lot more than
To piggyback on that, Kloof, with this whole NIL environment, would it not be like, if for the guys who are actually looking to make marketing deals, in their interest to stay with one team, one fan base, one geography?
Yes, I think. I mean, Brad could talk to that.
Yeah, maybe. The answer is maybe, and that's where the rules get really crazy. If you think about it, like I'm not supposed to be able to induce a player to come to Iowa with an NIL deal. That's a rule, okay? You can't induce someone with NIL. However,
Meaning
player,
you can't go to XYZ player and say, "Hey, I know you're playing here, but here's what we could possibly do for you NIL wise at Iowa. Does that interest you?" You cannot initiate it that way.
I can't say I'm going to pay you X dollars.
Right.
You say I can't. That's the rule. Okay? The rule
Rules
is
are
the rule
rules are kind of blurred right about now, it seems
they
like.
are, but the rule is that I cannot induce a player to come to Iowa with an NIL deal. And that's just crazy if you think about that, because a lot of times the player is wanting to get paid, and who wants to go somewhere and not know what they're going to be paid?
Right. That's
So
like signing up. It's like signing up for the job offer and you don't know what the salary is.
yeah, you wait till the first paycheck comes, right? Does that make any sense? So from the player's perspective, that rule is terrible. From the NIL, organization's perspective, that's kind of, that's not necessarily the best rule either. But it's
because it puts you guys in a weird spot to where you're like, okay, then how
you have to show the strength of your program. You have to be able to show that if you just take a look, talk to the guys on the visit and ask them what they're getting and what kind of deals they have, and if it's a big if it's of importance to you, you can do some research and figure out just how strong the NIL program is. My favorite part of the Cade McNamara interview today, I don't know if you caught it, but he mentioned that he thought that the strength of Iowa's NIL program was better than Michigan's. And I stopped and rewound that and played it over 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that was gold.
You're gonna clip that and put that one on the internet.
That one maybe. I stuck my chest out a little bit when I heard that.
Well, this was one of my questions. It was on my list. Is he specifically said they were asking sort of the host kind of asked him, what are you looking for when you decide you're going to transfer and these NIL programs out there in the collectives? And he said, well, it's kind of weird because some schools have their shit together and some don't. They don't have anything. And he mentioned Iowa and unfortunately Nebraska in the same sentence. And evidently Nebraska has, a nice setup too, according to him. But Iowa was like, he was high praise for you. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah. Brad's doing something right, baby. Let's go.
I liked that. Yeah, I may have to go back and parse that, but yeah, that was high praise, and it was appreciated that he had such nice things to say.
does that surprise you that Michigan doesn't have their pockets together there? Like what's going on? You would think Michigan blue. I mean, maybe they're just being arrogant and they're relying on, hey, we're Michigan, right?
Yeah, it really depends upon who decides to run it. Because if you think about it, it's almost counterproductive if you have 3 or 4 different collectives trying to support the same group of programs. Because then the public is completely confused.
Yep.
They don't know what to do or who to support, who not support. They don't know who's running it well, who's not.
And everybody's pockets are shallower then, right? Because if you're putting up a total pool into 4 pieces and trying to offer off of a quarter.
Yeah, and I'll be surprised if Michigan's NIL program isn't strong in a few years, right?
Well, after Cade said that, they're going to be like, God,
someone's going to get it going there. Yeah, and so sometimes the people that try to run these are former players that are just trying to help give back, and there's nothing wrong with being a former player, walk on or scholarship, right? But
some people
sometimes they don't know how to run a business, and there's a business acumen, a component of this that's important.
That's why I handle the books around here.
There you go.
You're right. It is, man. It's such a diverse sort of thing that you've got yourself into, Brad. And so I guess going back to that question is during the season, what is the Swarm focused on? What's the role? What is the mission? Not the mission statement, but what's the executable things that you guys can do during the season other than kind of using the hype of football to build donors and build subscriptions into your program? On the getting players front, or on the trying to use the money that you've collected front, how do you go about that during the season?
So that's a good question. So what we have 2 employees still. Scott Brickman, who's basically in charge of fundraising. And
I feel like you're going to need more than 2.
Yeah, but I'm trying to keep this as lean as I can, so
we can
pay the players as much as we can.
Right.
But we have someone who's focused on fundraising. Okay. And then we have someone who's focused on events. Jane Oswald is in charge of events. And so so he's constantly trying to raise money. She is constantly putting together events with local charities and paying our players to go raise money for these charities or do things with these charities to try to raise awareness of what is their mission is. And so, the kids the basketball players during football season had a little bit more time on their hands maybe than the football players. Yep. Now, if you notice, if you're looking at Twitter or Instagram today, we had a group of football players at an elementary school.
Yep.
And so, out of season, or at least during bowl prep when there's a little bit more time, then the football guys get to participate. And again, we're trying to use the donated dollars to pay the players, but make them kind of do something good for the community to get that. This isn't just dropping off bags of cash at Hillcrest or Reno or Slater or wherever they're living nowadays on campus.
You're not Santa Claus, Brad?
There probably, but
it's Peterson. Yeah, Peterson.
Okay.
There's some dirty stuff going on in that place, and not that there wasn't in Hillcrest either. Hillcrest was where we lived, and I can say that if you, Brad Heinrichs, would have stopped by in a Santa outfit with bags of cash, I might have played harder. I might have tried harder. Who knows?
Who knows how many games we would have won?
Right? I had a lot of effect on all that. And so that's what they're doing during the season is
and really the entire year. I mean, that's really what it is. Now, granted, in the summer there may be a little bit of a break where we'll be just trying to we're focusing on just raising money. But yeah, that's it's raise and spend. We're a nonprofit. We're not trying, and I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I got a question for you. You talk about the guys have to do some sort of community service in order to, get those funds.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any shortage of events or stuff for them to do so that, like, you can get everybody involved? Like, there's 115 guys on the team, if not more. Like, not everyone can go sign autographs at the children's hospital or something.
That's right. Is there a shortage? Well, that's our challenge, right? Is to try to find as many events that we can bring as many people to as we can. Certainly, there have been some moaning and groaning by some of the players saying, "Hey, we want to, I'm looking to go to an event, but they keep filling up."
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be lying if I told you that we didn't send it to the two deeps first, maybe 24 hours before the rest of the team.
Hey, that's how it works. That's how it works.
Big dogs eat first, right?
But the truth of the matter is that there's usually still slots available, and your walk-ons can join in and partake.
I did catch your slander on the third string long snapper on the radio show that you went on.
I figured that was going to get back to you.
I
wasn't expecting to get back on the program so I could be like confronted face to face. So
all right, I'm not a scary
my
guy,
apologies.
So I mean, like there's plenty of community service you can do out there, right? But I'm guessing we're refraining from having these guys, do like manual labor picking up trash on the side of the highway type
they
stuff.
They don't join the chain gang and pick up trash on 380. No, they're not doing that. But
if you paid me enough, I'd do it.
Yeah, well, right. But they are doing some things that require a little bit of moving around, but not much.
Speaking of events, I know we already talked about it, and we're going to talk about it after we record, Brad. But walk-ons might be able to help you with an event or two.
I've heard rumors that we might be able to partner together, and that would be fun.
Well, that's what my sources are saying. So we'll have to see about that. And I think that'd be, quite honestly, a great opportunity for a lot of the players
Sounds
on the team.
Yeah, and our players. The other thing that we'll use them for is to help market for us.
Yeah,
they can help in the fundraising for us as well. Basically, just saying that they enjoy being part of the swarm helps from a marketing standpoint for us.
Absolutely.
So
I would have been a walking billboard if I was part of this thing.
if you got paid enough for it, I'm sure you would have.
I'm cheap too, Brad.
Would have been some of the other challenges since starting this up, as far as getting things off the ground and running, and getting to where you want to be 2, 3, 4 years down the line?
Oh man,
everything.
It's the bookkeeping is a little bit more difficult than I had really kind of thought through. I mean, we've got over 1,000 members now, and so on QuickBooks, I've got to have a line item for each of the 1,000 people. I'm going to have to figure out a way in a month to send them all a benefit statement for their tax purposes that shows, hey, you just made a tax deductible donation of X dollars to the Iowa Swarm Collective, and pass this along to, and here's our 501c3 EIN and whatnot. So pass that along to your CPA so you can get a deduction if he thinks that it's worthy of one. 1,000 of those. Thinking that through. There's things that you kind of start thinking about if you start doing this.
Some of the logistical stuff that's annoying.
The logistical stuff. I will also
bookkeeping is what gets a lot of businesses in trouble.
Yeah.
I get our business in
it's
trouble.
Something that I'm good at, but it is tedious. The other thing that's been surprising to me is just that. I've worked with municipal governments and know that they move at a glacial pace sometimes. All right, but I wasn't ready for the fact that the athletic department couldn't necessarily embrace everything that we're doing and really help us out. And I'm not necessarily blaming them.
I will. Fuck you, athletic department.
But the first thing was that I thought, well, hey, we could advertise at Kinnick or Carver. We could just, we could put donation boxes all around, and people could just throw $10 or $20 at the swarm. And turns out, well, no, you got to be a partner with Learfield in order to even have a chance at something like that. I wanted to be able to email all the season ticket holders for any of the 3 sports and ask them for donations. No, you can't do that either.
Whoa. Hold on.
You're right.
What if those emails just happened to get leaked? Like those email addresses just happened to fall out.
What if we got Hillary Clinton on this?
Yeah, but I mean, there's
we ask for donations as a podcast and then send the funds to you.
However I get the money, I'm fine with. But look, the point of the matter is, you're talking about challenges, Kevin. I mean, that's it hasn't been as easy as I was expecting from the standpoint of access. Sure. I had to pay to become a partner with Learfield so we can get our logo inside of Kinnick. But the access to the fans, the access to the season ticket holders, I haven't been able to get access yet. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to.
That's so
that's why it's been more grassroots, Tyler. And so the attention and the just getting our word out has taken longer than I expected. I expected to be where we are now in month 2, but I have high expectations. So
that blows my mind that someone is gatekeeping the season ticket holders.
Well, there's probably some privacy concerns where, they promise that they're not going to sell their email or give their email to somebody else. I don't know, but
I think
I'm just giving you an example of.
No, I understand. So, but it's not you're not like breaking some rule. It's just someone is deciding that they are not allowing you access to it.
It's a tough one, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get it. And I can assure you that
if you need Drake to kill somebody,
I'm putting pressure on them to get this to us. So,
Drake, you're fine with it. Don't act like you aren't. If we have to sick Drake,
that's only on my own accord. You don't get to volunteer me for that.
The walk-ons have gone up against the athletic department once before, and we're undefeated. So
undefeated. Well, good.
That's all I'm saying.
You've got a better record than I do at the moment. So anyway, I'm sure that it's all going to work out. It's just, to Kevin's question about challenges, it just hasn't been. The door didn't just swing open like I was kind of hoping that it would.
You're having to grind it open, push it open.
I'm having to be the big bad wolf, is what I feel like I am.
Do you feel like the awareness is out there though? Like, you've mentioned like haven't been able to get access to like all their emails, but do you feel like the marketing, the awareness, like all the season ticket holders are generally aware of what we're trying to do? Or
I don't think so. I really don't, because if so, I mean, think about how many season ticket holders we have for football. 30 grand, 35,000.
No idea.
More. It's got to be more, right?
Well, there's 60 something thousand seats, but there may be one season ticket holder might have 3 or 4 seats.
Oh, right? Sure. I see what you're saying.
So 30, let's just say it's 30,000, right? Well, I would expect that more than 1 in 30 would be interested in becoming a member.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? And so we've only got over 1,000 members. So that tells me that we still have not reached our targeted audience yet.
Yeah.
But I think that there's enough people now that are starting to spread the word and say, hey, you know what, this organization is well run, and it's it's being highly thought of and talked about in circles of the student athletes in the program, and other student athletes that are prospects are noticing and looking at our NIL program as a real positive when they're trying to figure out where they want to go to school.
So I'm going to move back to sort of how you work in conjunction with, I guess, the staff, because you have to be in some sort of line of communication with the coaches and the recruiting department, because they have to. I'm trying to dance around this. I don't want to break rules. And if you don't feel comfortable, as always, don't say anything. Mm-hmm. They have to convey their level of interest in potential transfers or recruits from high school coming in, whatever it may be, someone that you may potentially want to use NIL money on, right? Right?
Yeah, there's maybe say it a different way.
Yeah, maybe.
If Drake is wanting to transfer and he's over at a different school, and one of his questions surrounds NIL.
Right.
Well, that's not a question for Tyler Barnes or Kirk Ferentz to answer. He can reach out directly to me and ask questions about Iowa's NIL.
But does he have to be in the transfer portal already, or can he just be hanging out with his teammates, calling around saying, "Hey, I want to transfer. How much money you got?"
Brad puts his head down like, I can't answer that
one. Being candid about it, because that's the way I like to be. I mean, this happens, right? I mean, you see
right,
it out
of course it does. That's why I'm trying to see how we get around the rules.
Is it supposed to happen? No, it's not supposed to happen, but it does happen. And the other thing is these players have agents now, and so it's not even always the player that's asking the questions.
That was one of the questions from our. I said that you were going to come on tonight, and we have a private subscriber base that we allow to sort of combine in some Q&A questions, and one of them was, are the players even asking this? Are they reaching out, or is it sometimes their families or people who represent them who are trying to make the connection so that they don't get in trouble?
The answer is both. I mean, you'll get it from players, you'll get it from agents. And there are some players whose agents are calling, and the player doesn't really care. The parents might care.
Of course they do.
The agent cares. And so sometimes the player cares the least. Sometimes the player cares the most. It really just depends. But it's not. The NIL type questions. That's not really for the football staff to be able to really answer, because that's not their program. They're selling their program. They're selling the opportunity. They're selling the camaraderie and whatnot that they have in their program. And the NIL piece, they can acknowledge that it exists, but that's really where I come in, is to answer whatever questions if a prospect or whoever has, an agent has, I can get those questions, and I'll get them from.
So you're the recruit's best friend. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to talk to you first.
Well, sometimes, I mean, I could get a question from an agent that I don't even know that the guys that we're even recruiting the kid, or the kid that the agents represent. He may be asking me questions about how our collective works versus the one at Michigan State who's actually recruiting the kid. You think about that. I could be actually answering questions to a group of people that have nothing to do with a recruit that I was even interested in. That even happens.
Here was kind of where I wanted to go with that original question was, example, say a collective has $500,000, right? They've got $500,000 worth of money in their well.
Yeah.
And there's going to be who knows how many people the staff, Coach Ferentz, for example, Tyler Barnes, for example, want to go after, right? Are you talking to them back and forth often to get a sense of like, hey, we got like 8 guys that we want, so you can't give them all 100,000 because we only got 500,000 to deal with? Like, are there those kind of conversations going on, or I don't know how that works. Are you deciding how much that you could potentially offer up to them, tell them that they could have if they came to this school? Like, I mean,
well, again, you got to be careful about the whole inducement piece, right? And that's the part that's just almost.
Well, and I'm not saying induce, but like,
right. But you can't say, hey, I want to pay you X to come here. All right. But what you can have is player talks to player on team who's already getting X, and then the player could also ask about our war chest, or look at our war chest and see what's in it. And then again, they have to look at the strength of our NIL program, the amount of money that we've raised, the amount of money that we're distributing to student athletes, and decide whether this is a program that is a positive to them or something they're interested in or not. It's
There's a lot of dancing going on.
yeah, it's just awful. I don't like it much from that standpoint.
You should hire Drake. He's great at this.
We can't give them a contract with the marketing with a business until they show up on campus and I've got someone interested with a contract. And what's also interesting, I can't go to the business and say, hey, we're recruiting such and such player. Are you interested in supporting them? They don't even know what, I can't tell them who the player is. See how this gets really, so it's really about building the war chest. And when the phone call comes and they want to know what the war chest looks like,
you tell them it's bigger than it is.
You can give them I'll tell them the truth. And the truth is we're not too far away from $1 million raised in $3 million raised in potential in actual donations or marketing deal pledges that haven't been consummated yet because the kids aren't here and they don't even know who the kid's it's going to go to, but they've said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just trust you with a deal. And it could go to a kid that's already on the team. It could go to a kid that is on the team next fall. But you can see how this gets really, really dicey.
Of that war chest, what's the ratio that is like, people who are part of the Swarm Collective, they donate their $25 or whatever, going towards like community, opportunities for everyone versus, marketing specific players getting bigger checks?
We probably have, it's probably a third at the moment. It's probably a third, maybe a little north of a third that is collective going towards the everybody gets the same amount, has the same opportunity. Kluber or McNamara get the same opportunity.
I would have made more than his ass.
and then the other piece is probably 2/3 of it, which is marketing deal. For Caleb Johnson or for some, we put the businesses in touch with the kid, and we help them come up with some kind of an arrangement, and the kid gets to profit on the image and likeness more so than maybe his teammates because he's one of the better players.
So just for example, Deary Bros couldn't just go to Jack Campbell and be like, hey, we want you to be the face of Deary, and we'll give you a truck for a lease, and we'll give you, X amount of dollars. Like, they can't do that. They have to call you and you put them in touch with the agent or something.
They can go straight to Jack Campbell. But the problem there is then Jack Campbell's on his own. He's on his own to report everything. He's on his own to pay his taxes. He's on his own to negotiate the deal, make sure that the legal work is right. One of the things that the Swarm does is we'll make sure that the contract is not sliding the student athlete in any way, shape, or form. We'll help the student athlete with all of the back end reporting. We'll make sure that we'll also protect the business and make sure that, hey, so the business will pay us. We hold the money. We make sure that the student athlete fulfills his end of the deal. Once that's done and the business is satisfied, then we release the money to the student athlete. And again, we're not this isn't us trying to make money. This is trying to protect the student athlete and get them as many deals as we can.
Yeah, no,
that's nice.
Especially as a college kid, having that,
someone looking out for you. Like, when you're 18, and so
I don't want to file taxes as an 18-year-old. I don't even know what the hell
they're going to have to file.
Medicare is at that point.
They're going to have to file the taxes, but at least we'll be able to tell them what their tax burden is looking like, right?
Right. What to put away for when April comes around.
Yeah. So
hell, I'm 20.
They don't have to use us. They don't have to use us, but a lot of them do. Caitlin Clark doesn't use us. Caitlin Clark has her own. She has her own people, and that's totally fine.
Caitlin Clark is loaded.
She's got people.
She's got people. She's got more
people
staff.
with Nike deals have people.
God damn.
Yeah. People who are the face of Hy-Vee have people.
That's it.
Good for her.
Good for her. I'm happy for her.
Holy
So
shit.
we kind of talked about like rules with gray lines,
Yeah.
asterisks, quotation marks around them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it's like the Wild West. Everyone's saying like it's anything goes at this point. What is like the enforcement on the NCAA side of things looking like? Do they have a staff towards this stuff? Do you ever get contacted by the NCAA? Is there a sheriff at all, or are we in the wild west with it's whoever's got more clips in the chamber or whatever?
Well, I have not been contacted by the IRS
I feel like just talking to you
by the NCAA or the IRS as it pertains to this. I would think that, so the NCAA can't control me. I mean, they just can't. What they can do though is
no one can control Brad
control the eligibility. They can control the eligibility of the kid, right? So I mean, the worst I think that the NCAA could do is make some kid ineligible to play for Iowa because of impermissible stuff as it pertains to NIL. That would, in my view, and again, this hasn't happened really yet. You're talking about Wild West. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of this, but that would seem like that would be the enforcement, if there is any. It would be on the kid's eligibility.
Yeah, sure, makes sense.
I feel like the whole thing is so dirty that I'm gonna get arrested just for being in this conversation.
Might get audited.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
So many questions. Wow. Are you stressed out all the time?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got, but not necessarily by the NIL stuff. I'm in the middle of Hurricane Alley here, trying to get my life in order. And I've got another business and 105 performance reviews that I have to be ready to dole out over the next 2 weeks. So I'm worried about that. But for your question, I know it was more about NIL. Am I stressed out? No. I mean, it's actually been a lot of fun, to be honest.
That's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Because the people, I've met so many great people. I mean, I've met so many great people, donors that I've never met before that are really wealthy, and there are some of these people just awesome people, and you kind of go, man, I'm pinching myself to get to know these people. I've had a blast. Bruce Rastetter, the former president of the Board of Regents, gotten to know him. He's a hoot. I mean, I've enjoyed hanging out and talking to Bruce. He's a huge Hawk fan, and he's been very supportive to us.
Bruce has some
bucks too.
Bruce got some pockets on him.
Yeah.
He owns more land than God, I think.
He does okay. Yeah. There've been a lot of folks that I've gotten to meet that I will probably be lifelong friends. So
that's awesome. On the personal side, do performance reviews are they worth your time? That's a no.
Yes, because I think they are, just because it helps. It's a chance for me to give feedback that I've been wanting to give, but I just haven't had the venue to give it. And hopefully it will refocus everybody to do what I want them to do next year. So yes, they're necessary. Are they a pain in my ass? Oh, yes. Do I really kind of dread them to some level? Yes. And is everybody's raise not enough? I'm sure they're everybody's overworked and underpaid, and so I get to hear about that every year.
I've got 2 performance reviews to write this year for these 2.
Oh well,
I get an A+.
Just
all I did was make us money.
Just remember what the alternative. I mean, it's finding another walk-on that would be able to perform like Drake and Kevin. That'd be tough.
Good luck.
Like Drake, not many. Kevin, we could probably.
Are you saying I'm replaceable?
I think
that
we're all
feels
replaceable.
terrible, Kevin. I just don't agree with that. I think Kluver's a piece of shit. I think he's the worst boss ever. He calls himself the CEO, but me and Kevin own 66% of the company combined. Kluver only owns 34%. So I say we kick his little bald ass to the curb.
Good luck. Good luck. What kind of frequency are you communicating with Tyler Barnes, the coaching staff? I have to imagine it's close because you guys want to be on the same page, right?
Yeah, I'm right, and some of it too is social too, because one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I consider a lot of those folks my friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes it has nothing to do. Our communications may have nothing to do with football,
Sure.
or basketball. Lisa Bluter and her staff have been a little bit more distant, but Fran, his staff, Kirk, his staff, I do hear from them quite a bit. And they, this is all new to them too, and they're trying to understand the landscape, what we do, what we don't do. So it's a very, I do feel the football losses hurt me more now than they did a year ago when I was Mr. Casual fan. I feel like I'm part of Iowa football. I feel like I'm part of Iowa basketball more so than I used to.
You are. You're going to the banquet Sunday.
I'm one of the 600 invitees. That's pretty. I can't.
You're going to enjoy it.
I can't believe I made it.
I can. You're an important guy now.
Dude, that is going to be the Jack Campbell show of all Jack Campbell shows.
Well, he just won the buckets today. I think he's talk about a war chest. He's got it at this point.
Dude. He's going to need a goddamn ship to bring back his loot. I mean,
good for him.
He won the butt kiss, dude. The best linebacker in all of college football. Wears 31, stands 6'5", and plays linebacker for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
It's a good thing you didn't have to pay for him because he would have been expensive.
I'm so happy I didn't have to hit that guy. I'll bet it hurts so bad.
Yeah, guaranteed.
He's a heck of a player, no doubt.
There was a funny question, Brad, from our private Discord asking if how much money it's going to take to find a bunch more Cooper DeJeans. How do we find like 20 more Cooper DeJeans, and how do we pay them?
I think we just tell little Iowa-born kids that they aren't good enough. I think you just keep doing that over and over again. It breeds these gritty little bastards that are like, I'm going to show you.
He's really good too, isn't he?
So
he
good.
is.
And what's the name of his small hometown? It's some little bitty thing. I don't know.
It's Odebolt, Arthur, Battle Creek, Ida Grove. OABCIG.
There you go. I don't know where we're gonna find many of those, but what it does say though is I think he was ranked like the 7th best player in Iowa coming out of high school. Think about that. So the people who do the recruiting ratings aren't exactly perfect.
I was like top 40 at linebacker in our class.
I believe that for sure.
Dude, just think about that. There are not 6 people in the state of Iowa performing better than Coop right now at his class.
No, absolutely.
There might not be 6 people performing in any area of life better than Coop.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll tell you one of the things in being kind of close to everything and going to fall camp and watching, he can play any position in the secondary. I mean, he can play.
That's the quote we heard coming into the season, right? Somebody said what position is Cooper DeJean going to play? And one of the coaches said whatever he wants.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, people, this is one of the things that I have grown to appreciate being closer to the program than what I had before is, people were complaining about, why hasn't Cooper DeJean been returning punts this whole time, right? I mean, that's a question you guys have probably even talked about on your show. I haven't listened to every one, but Cooper DeJean, he should be returning punts. Well, if you think about it, the kid had to learn like 5 different positions on defense.
He's only got so much gas in him.
Then you expect him to be over there with LeVar Woods doing special team stuff too. I mean,
I was calling for him to be quarterback.
He's still a young kid. Yeah, well, that's the other thing. People think you're just going to plug him in at quarterback and he's going to know all the plays and be able to play quarterback. People are just have unrealistic expectations of the kid.
He's our modern day Niall Kinnick.
He's really awesome. He's really awesome. And I'll tell you, one of the cool stats that I heard the first time it was towards the end of camp, And I don't remember which coach told me, but he says, you know who's leading our team in touchdowns in fall camp?
Cooper
And I'm
DeJean.
thinking, I don't know, Caleb Johnson, Gavin Williams, LaShawn Williams, Nico Reganey. Who is it? Or Laporta, right? No, it's Cooper DeJean. He's got more pick sixes than any offensive player has touchdowns.
That should have been a giant red flag.
Yeah, that might have been a sign.
Well, I didn't at the time. I thought of it as like, wow, this guy's something.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that, but also a little bit of a red flag.
So it's no surprise that the guys had pick sixes during the season too. The guy's a nose for the football.
Yeah.
By about week 6 of our offensive performance, I was the one calling for Coop to just play Wildcat because it can't get worse. So we might as well just try and do something cool.
Yeah. Another question, Brad. This is like a simple one, just kind of an inside baseball. People are curious. How do the payments work with like how do the guys get money? Do you guys have just like straight transfer to their bank accounts? They fill out like bank information?
Yeah. So we've got a pretty strong infrastructure where you go to Iowa Swarm and you become a member, for example, and you can contribute online, iowaswarm.com, in case anybody's listening that wants to become a member. You become a member, and the money goes to sort of our online bank account. And a member of the football team or basketball teams, when they sign up, they sign the documents to say that they're going to adhere to all of our rules. And as part of signing up, they provide us with their ACH information with their bank accounts. Okay. And so when they go to a charity event or something, they have to take a picture of themselves there and prove that they did what they were supposed to do. And then once that's submitted, then we can just hit send payment and boom, just like that. Cool. Caleb Johnson has his money.
Has anyone requested just a big old bag of $20 bills?
Cash.
Straight cash, no change.
No, nobody's requested that.
If someone wants cash, Brad, don't give it to them.
No.
Do not give them cash.
I remember a handful of our teammates who would just go cash the scholarship check, just straight cash every week, every month. Yeah.
And I know exactly what it was going to.
There you go.
How much right now, and I imagine based on what you've already told us, how much right now of the well of money that you guys have as the Swarm Collective is coming from the bigger one-time donations versus the yearly subscriber base?
I mean, it's the same probable answer as what I was saying before. So 2/3 of it probably. If we got 3 million. 2/3 of it is, so-and-so saying I'm going to give $100,000.
Sure.
Or I'm going to give $200,000. We just nailed down a corporate sponsor, hoping to make a big announcement soon that's going to give us at least $500,000 a year. That's super cool.
That's huge.
That's big, and the goal is to actually make it more. So,
what's your fundraising guy's name again? Remind me.
Scott Brickman. Yeah,
he's doing a good job.
Yeah, well, yeah, and of course, I take all the credit wherever we go. For
we might need to hire our own Scott over here at the Walk-Ons. Start upping these funds.
Scott's doing a great job.
That's awesome. Is there any way outside of the donations that people can help? That was one of the questions.
Oh, absolutely. It's about awareness. I mean, think about it. We only got 1,000 members. Think about how many Hawk fans there are out there. And our lowest sort of denomination is $19.58 a month. And
it's coffee, people.
And for that, I mean, you get a T-shirt, you'll get I guess a bumper sticker, but also you also get a card that you can go and get. It's like several of the businesses around town will give 50% off pints or whatever, food buy one get ones or whatever at a lot of the eateries around Iowa City. You can make it such that your $20 you almost don't even feel it if you. If you're in the Eastern Iowa area,
we should do a clue. We should do like a promo code and like Swarm members get like X% off of merch or something like that.
Yeah, and yes. But really, if I could ask, if they're not going to give money, which I totally understand, um, just telling your friends and family about it, because everybody knows someone who's a Hawk fan that once they kind of understand what we're all about, what we're trying to do, um, they may be able to talk someone else into being a member.
Sure.
So that's really
Awareness.
and awareness is big, and I will tell you this. I know we're probably getting close to the end here, but without a successful NIL program, Iowa athletics is going to fail. And I could say that about any Power 5 program. If they don't have their act together or get their act together on their NIL front, those programs are going to take giant steps backwards. And I'm not trying to say that to try to.
I mean, it's
say how
the rich get richer, right?
I'm just saying that that's the way that college athletics is headed, whether we like it or we don't like it. That's really immaterial. It's really more about how do we manage this the right way and help the Hawks be successful. And I think we're off to a pretty good start here.
You're doing something right because Cade said so, and he's probably the biggest transfer in the entire country right now in the portal so far. So
I don't think there's any question. I don't see any other college football playoff quarterbacks in the portal.
He's potentially the biggest recruit in Iowa history, dude, because usually recruits come out of high school and a 5-star is the best you can do. This guy's been in a college football playoff and won a Big Ten title game. Like, that's a pretty big recruit.
Pretty big recruit, and we also have an offensive tackle coming out of Southeast Polk that would
Maybe.
Probably what?
Maybe.
Come on. He's coming.
All right.
Brad ain't going to let him go.
I trust Brad.
I do trust you, Brad.
I think he's coming. He's coming. But when you talk, but Drake, to your point about big recruits coming out of high school, he may be the biggest recruit we've ever had coming out of high school, or one.
He's one of the highest ranked you can get.
Yeah, he's like the number 1 rated offensive lineman in the country, depending on who you ask, coming out of high school. And then when you've got a quarterback who's just transferring in, that's clearly one of the picks of the litter in the transfer portal. And what's really great about this guy is he committed without even visiting. He's visiting this weekend. He's visiting right now, actually. I think he's
He's
at the basketball game right now. But he committed without even visiting. Why? I think it's because he said this on that podcast day. He didn't care about all the fluff. He cares about the opportunity, cares about, really what's out in front. He sees the big picture of all this. And he also knows that the sooner he commits, the sooner he can help recruit. And
he talked about culture too. Like, it matters.
Yeah. Culture
and
does.
I think that's
Fairness does a great job of that. You guys know that.
And I think that's where people are a little concerned, maybe too much, is the teams and the staffs who are still able to cultivate the kind of culture that wins. It's still going to matter. And it's going to matter, and it's clearly shown in a big time get like Cade.
Might matter even more.
I would imagine. Kevin. I think it matters way more.
Because once you have kids that are worried more about money than playing, then it takes a hell of a lot more leadership to make sure everyone stays together. I feel like
look no further than Texas A&M.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's going to matter. I think culture is going to matter even more. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited with our collective is that there's the piece of it that everybody gets the same. And then there's the business side of it where certain companies may contract with individuals on the team to for marketing purposes. But when it comes to our collective, we can say, with a straight face that we're fine with that Caleb Johnson gets the same as whoever else.
You were trying to think of the long snapper. His name's Luke Elkin. Don't worry.
Okay, that's him. Yeah.
Real quick before we stop recording, have you heard, now that you've been in the game a little bit more, maybe you've talked to other collectives, maybe not, what are the crazy numbers that you've heard? Like, what does Texas A&M have? Do they have 30 million in their collective right now? I mean, do you have any idea?
That's the thing. People
We're not
like,
going to advertise for other schools, Kloof.
they like to keep it close to the vest. And that's actually one of the hardest things too. When you start to hear these numbers, none of it's verifiable,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, everybody knows that everybody can know how much money Kirk Ferentz makes.
Yep.
It's public information, right? But it's not necessarily known what so and so is actually getting paid on at Texas A&M to be their linebacker. You don't really know. They can say stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true.
True.
As far as what collectives, I think that our collective in the Big Ten is it's Ohio State's and Nebraska are probably out in front of everybody because of they've got some billionaire backers.
Warren.
Yeah. But we're not far behind. We're behind
Good.
them, but we're doing well so far. But it's only going to be successful if we can get the masses behind this. We can't continue to rely on the big money donors every single year to be writing the big checks, right?
Yeah.
At some point, we need 30,000 Hawkeye fan members of Swarm contributing. That's really what we have to have.
Get on it. That's you, the listeners. Brad, thank you for coming on. Episode 375 or 6 of this podcast. I don't even know.
6. 376.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll chat in a second about a couple ideas. But I think that what you have done has been impressive. And obviously people saw that the other day when Cade committed and all of a sudden you're getting a bunch of signups. Hopefully we can help you get a few signups, help get the word out. We'll continue to do as much as we can. And if you're sitting on the couch right now or at the grocery store, iowaswarm.com, go sign up at the $10,000 level.
That would be true.
Sign up at the $10,000 level. Don't worry about your kids' education.
It's tax deductible.
Don't worry about groceries. There's more important things out there. And it's the iowaswarm.com. Okay. Thanks for coming on, Brad. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.